talked about this before, but whenever I list off like my top 10 favorite movies of all time, it's different than everybody else's, like all top 10 lists. But every time I list off the movies, people go, oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a great one. The one on my list that always gets people to raise their eyebrow and go, wait, what? Is when I say the Christopher Lambert, Clancy Brown, Sean Connery classic, The Highlander. I love that movie. I love it passionately. Equally hate the second one, but I love that first one. Well, about, I want to say 10 years ago, maybe more, reports came out that Ryan Reynolds was going to be doing a Highlander reboot. And then they were apparently working on that for years, they said. And then all of a sudden that kind of disappeared. Then a couple of years ago, we heard that Henry Cavill was going to star in a Highlander reboot and was going to be directed by John Wick director Chad Stahelski. And that got a lot of us excited, but things have been very, very quiet on that front. Because again, that announcement was years ago. They keep mentioning it, but we don't see anything. Well, now we've got some tangible movement. This comes to us from the folks at the Hollywood Reporter who said the following. Chad Stahelski is finally making his long gestating Highlander movie. The director, who's been developing the project for 8 years now, since 2016, and now has it set as his next film. Henry Cavill is attached to star in Highlander, a reimagining of the 1986 film of the same name. Highlander's green light is part of a sweeping new deal Stahelski and Lionsgate announced on Tuesday. The pact will give Chad Stahelski oversight of 2 franchises, Highlander and John Wick. So on a much, much smaller scale, this is kind of like Kevin Feige being given Marvel and Star Wars. Again, significantly smaller scale, but this is really, really big. This dude has now been given the shepherdship, if you will, of 2, hopefully 2, beloved franchises. The John Wick franchise, which has already enjoyed great success. It's not often you get 4 movies in a franchise where each one makes more money than the previous one. And that's been the path of the John Wick franchise. I even kind of liked the Continental series. That was on, what was that, on Peacock?
Peacock.
I didn't think it was great, but I liked it. I had a good time with that. Anyway, and of course, the Highlander is finally coming with my man Henry Cavill as Connor McLeod of the Clan McLeod. I cannot wait for this. This is a classic, great story that I think will benefit hugely from modern technology, modern storytelling tropes, set in a more modern world, like in the 2020s instead of the 1980s. I think this is going to be great. Key is going to be Kurgan. And we've heard some whispers about who's going to be Kurgan, but I can't say right now. But anyway, guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Guys, it's a brand new year, and a lot of people are making New Year's resolutions, things they want to change about themselves. But I've always believed that it's also equally as important to identify the things we're doing well and building on those. And therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. I've always believed that nothing impacts our daily performance in our jobs, our hobbies, our relationships like our mental health. And I've also said for a long time that it's about time that we stop just putting emphasis on improving our physical health by getting out to the gym, but also by putting emphasis on improving our mental health as well. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you gotta do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So guys, celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. Rob, you hear about this. Apparently it is finally happening. 8 years in the making. It's his next film up. And he's been given kind of shepherdship, like I said, over it and the John Wick franchise. What do you make of this?
Well, here's the thing, John. Highlander is peak 80s filmmaking. It doesn't get more 80s. The transitions between the present and the past, Russell Mulcahy, the way the movie looks,
the Queen's soundtrack.
Score. I mean, everything about it, and part of its appeal is how 80s it is. Now, we also have the fantasy elements of it, the immortal elements of it, which were a little underdeveloped. And you can see the Adrian Paul series went way into that. There's a lot of potential with Highlander. I just think, though, and Stahelski's the guy to do it, that you need to make whatever the 21st century equivalent is of that style, You know, and I think like with movies like Bullet Train, you know, Bullet Train I thought was a really stylish, fun,
Very fun film.
very fun movie. Really enjoyed it. You've got to lean into that because if you make you could do a straightforward Highlander story, make it serious, but to make it Highlander, it's got to have that extra. And the guy who brings John Wick to life is a man to do it. So like you, I'm excited about at least Highlander. I think maybe they should call it Highlander Knights of the Old Republic. No, maybe they shouldn't. But I mean, I think that
That'll never happen.
I think it's really cool. I mean, the John Wick movies, everyone has made more money than the next. People still love those movies, and there's a great universe to be had there. I mean, maybe some of the people at the high table are actually immortal.
Oh, imagine if they cross those worlds over.
I mean,
which I don't think they would, but imagine if they crossed over.
But it would suddenly
Wick.
make sense because then you'd understand the high table more. Like, oh
yeah, a few of them are immortals. They've been around for like 5 centuries.
And that's where they came up with all the coins, and you have to pay.
I now love this idea.
Come on, I mean, why not? And you know what? Shared universe. And the funny thing about it is, why do you think there's so many like the assassins, or where do these people come from? And I mean, I'm not saying they should, but if they did, it's not as outlandish as crossing over, say, the Transformers with the Fast and the Furious franchise. I think Highlander and John Wick, there's a place they could meet.
The one mortal that the immortals are afraid of, John Wick.
Or yeah. Or maybe he doesn't even know.
Wait, that would explain the ending of 4. He
Maybe
wakes up.
He doesn't know he's immortal. John Wick is immortal. Baba Yaga is immortal.
He's like that. Okay, I'm officially loving this idea. Also, don't forget though, like Stahelski said a while ago, he made this comment that said it's going to kind of be John Wick with swords. And I know some people got concerned about that, but as a huge Highlander fan, I'm like, yeah. That's what it should be. The big question I still have, and we brought this up before, is, I mean, they already said they're going to reuse some of the Queen soundtrack, which is great.
Yeah.
But they should also update it but what band kind of does the rest of the soundtrack now? Is it like an Imagine Dragons? Is it, I mean, like some modern band? I don't know, but that would be kind of fun.
I mean, it'd be because, you know, Queen was such an arena rock band. It had so many anthems and so many bangers. I don't know if there's the equivalent of Queen.
Not really.
Today.
Not really. There's not really a Queen equivalent.
But maybe they can have, you know, you pick multiple groups because look, you can't not have some kind of hip hop element in a modern movie. I mean, because there's some, I don't know who
you don't want the film to just feel dated,
right? And it would be, I don't know. It's. I'm just excited for it. I think it's gonna be good. I think Lionsgate, the fact that they're making this kind of deal with him and they're moving forward. How can you not be excited?
Not to mention when they make part 2.
It's got to be better than the original part 2.
The planet Zeist is coming back.
The immortals are actually prisoners from another planet who are condemned to immortality. Anyway,
Ian McShane's immortal.
Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.